Participation in competitive motorsports is crucial for any auto manufacturer. It serves as a testing ground for advanced technologies. It promotes a brand's competitive ethos and offers highly effective advertising. In America, the Big Three, Ford, GM and Chrysler, have always taken racing seriously and invested heavily to achieve success. This was particularly evident in 1960s NASCAR when they fiercely competed for victory, embodying the adage, win on Sunday, sell on Monday. When GM withdrew from NASCAR in 1963, it left Ford and Chrysler to battle it out for supremacy. Chrysler dominated the 1964 season with Richard Petty driving the Plymouth Belvedere, debuting the 426 Hemi and winning the Daytona 500, then going on to secure the 1964 NASCAR Cup Series Points Championship. However, Ford faced a dilemma as they were struggling and consistently being beaten and outperformed by the Hemi-powered Dodge and Plymouth cars. Chrysler's dominance was crushed in 1965 because NASCAR imposed new rules requiring race engines to be available in production cars. Since a Hemi wasn't in any Chrysler production car, NASCAR teams couldn't use it, so the 426 Hemi was effectively banned. Chrysler had to sit out the 1965 NASCAR season while it developed a street version of the 426 Hemi. While increasing engine displacement had been Detroit's primary performance strategy through the 50s and early 60s, by the mid-60s, design studios began enhancing performance by improving aerodynamics. Chrysler started this trend with their 1966 fastback Charger, designed for smooth airflow over its rear to ultimately outclass Ford's cars. Hemi cars remained formidable, and the 1967 season saw Richard Petty's Plymouth Belvedere win the championship, securing 31 wins for Plymouth as compared to Ford's 10. Ford executives were not pleased. Ford re-entered the competition in the 1968 season with revamped models including the Mercury Montego, the Cyclone, Ford Fairlane 500 Fastback and the Torino, named after the Italian city of Turin, Italy's Detroit. Unfortunately, Chrysler's newly redesigned for 1968 Charger had regressed from the 66 and 67 aerodynamically efficient models and so lost out to the Torino's superior design. Despite their air-catching cove grilles, the sports roof Torinos excelled due to their superior aerodynamics, securing 27 wins out of 49 races. Lead driver David Pearson won 16 races and the NASCAR Grand National title in a Holman Moody Torino. With engine development reaching its limits, the focus shifted to aerodynamics for larger speed gains, and so an aero war began in NASCAR, with Ford and Chrysler leading the charge into the 1969 season. Chrysler fought back with the Charger 500, featuring a reworked rear window which had much less aero drag, a flush-mounted coronet grille and stainless steel flush A-pillar covers, giving it a more aerodynamic profile as compared to the standard Charger. However, Ford got wind of this, and in the fall of 1968, with Holman Moody, began developing their 1969 contender. This car would go on to become the Ford Torino Talladega, named after the Talladega Superspeedway, which also debuted that year. The Talladega was based on the Fairlane Cobra sports roof and featured unique aerodynamic enhancements. It was made available to the public solely to meet homologation rules, which for 1969 required the production of at least 500 road cars. In 1969, NASCAR race cars were genuine stock cars, constructed from vehicles straight off the showroom floor or their production counterparts. This was also the time when the Ford Torino lured Richard Petty away from Plymouth to move to Ford and drive for them. Ralph Moody designed a new aerodynamic nose, significantly reducing drag and increasing its top speed by 5 miles per hour, equivalent to a 75 horsepower gain. The nose was lengthened by around 15.5 inches with a 30-degree slope compared to the standard Torino, and was affectionately nicknamed the drop snoot. These extended fenders and the nose required extra bracing and were handmade on the assembly line by Holman Moody workers, not machine stamps. They worked during weekends when the regular operations were paused. This was a significant undertaking as the Talladega was a special model and Ford wanted to ensure it was produced with the utmost care. The whole grille was pushed forward and flattened out. This meant the turn signals had to be relocated from the fenders to inside the grille. Looking from the top, the standard Torino front end resembled an M, whereas the Talladega front end was straight with a slight central point. Because the grille was mounted flush with the front end, a rubber gasket was used to seal the small gap between the grille and the sheet metal to further enhance aerodynamics. The Talladega's front bumper started out as its rear bumper. Ford took it and cut it into 3 pieces with a V cut at the centre, reshaped it, filled in the openings on the ends, creating a new style front bumper. These new front bumpers acted like a rudimentary spoiler, where the rear bumper remained the same, straight and also extended out farther than the front. Because you couldn't physically reach under the hood, there was a release under the dash from a 1967 Lincoln Continental. Once the release was used, hood extender springs would lift the hood to allow access. You then had to reach in from the sides, find the safety latch and open it. This special Talladega only latch was made from 2 factory Torino latches with an extended hook. The cable would then go through the hood back into the interior and onto the latch release mechanism. All production Talladegas were equipped with the new 428 Cobra Jet V8 engine with a 10.6:1 compression ratio and a Holley 4-barrel 735 CFM carburetor delivering 335 horsepower. It was paired to a heavy-duty C6 automatic column shift transmission running to a 325:1 Ford 9-inch non-locking diff. It's interesting to note that these special performance parts were normally only available when ordering a drag pack car, which would also have been equipped with a 4-speed manual and a limited slip diff. The Talladega could achieve 0 to 60 in 5.8 seconds with a top speed of 130 miles per hour. Early production models used chrome valve covers, but from late February, due to a shortage of the chrome, the factory switched to aluminium valve covers. Fitted with a competition type suspension, the Talladega featured heavy-duty front coil and rear leaf springs, along with staggered rear shocks, the only instance of this with an automatic transmission. Unlike the standard over-axle position, the spare tyre and jack were located on the passenger side of the trunk, making room for a steel box with an access plate for mounting the driver's side shock. The setup was designed to improve traction and handling, particularly in high performance and racing applications. Similar to the Super Cobra Jet drag pack, it rolled on racing styled steel 14-inch wheels with argent finish and chrome trim rings, shod with F70/14 wide oval fiberglass belted tyres, and stopping was by power assisted 11.3-inch front disc and 10-inch rear drum brakes. Uniquely, Ford modified the Talladega's rocker panels. These were pinched and rebent at the bottom, doubling the lip's length. The adjustment allowed the car to sit an inch lower on the track, since NASCAR measured the height from the ground to the rocker panel's bottom, not the seam. This also reduced air resistance and increased speed due to low centre of gravity. Additionally, the front fender was bent to align with a raised rocker panel, exposing the pinch weld seam. You can tell a Talladega when you walk up to it, as there is a large T emblem above the door handle and another on the fake gas cap on the rear panel. The gas cap is, however, actually located behind the number plate on the rear bumper. The only place where you'll find the word Talladega on this car is on the inside door panels. The Talladega can be identified by a data plate labelled Special Performance Vehicles located on the driver's door, and this is broken down as follows. The 9 represents the model year, 1969. The A represents the assembly plant for the Talladega. This will be the Atlanta assembly plant. The 46 represents the body series. For all Talladegas, this was the Cobra 2-door sports roof. The Q represents the engine. For all Talladegas, this should be a Q, which represents 428 4V. The 186 566 represents the production series. The VIN is located just under the front windshield, also on the driver's side. The interior is a real taxi cab setup, very basic with the cheapest black vinyl cloth available. There were no bucket seats, just a front bench with minimal appointments to save weight, just an AM radio option. There were only 3 colours available: Wimbledon White, code M, Raw Maroon, code B, and Presidential Blue, code X. Maroon and blue cars received white pinstripes that ran along the tops of the fenders, the doors and quarter panels, while white cars received a black pinstripe. And unique to the Talladega production cars were the competition satin black hoods and rear tail panels. There was, however, an optional hood scoop available, and the only example I could find was on a prototype Talladega, uniquely built in candy apple red with a ram air system. Ordered by Ford Motor Company Administrative Services, it featured exclusive options not available on production models, including a 428 4-barrel Cobra Jet engine with ram air, bucket seats, rim blow deluxe steering wheel and AM/FM radio. Despite the tight schedule, the Talladegas were ready for the 1969 NASCAR season. Racing versions of the car initially used the FE 427 side oiler engine, Ford's primary racing engine since 1963. Later in the season, many teams switched to the Boss 428 429 after it was officially homologated by NASCAR President Bill France. Interestingly, Ford decided to homologate the engine separately from the car it was to be raced in, using a Mustang Boss 429. The Torino Talladega achieved exactly what Ford intended for it on the racing circuit. It won 29 Grand National races during the 1969 and 1970 NASCAR seasons, more than any other model. It also won the 1969 NASCAR Manufacturers Championship, with David Pearson winning the Drivers' Championship, and the 1969 ARCA Manufacturers Championship, with Benny Parsons winning the Drivers' Championship. Chrysler fought back, but this time with the Dodge Charger Daytona and Plymouth Superbird. Ford was in the process of developing the Torino King Cobra as their competitor when the powers that be at NASCAR said enough's enough and banned the aero cars. During this period, Ford had a change up in management and racing was no longer a priority, leading to the cancellation of the Torino Cobra project. Amid this, there were congressional hearings scrutinising the costs of racing versus enhancing fuel economy and safety. So Ford made the decision to withdraw from racing entirely. Consequently, most NASCAR and ARCA teams continued to run their 1969 Talladegas in 1970 without any factory support. The aero cars achieved remarkable success on the track thanks to the advanced aerodynamics, which enabled them to reach unprecedented speeds. However, these high speeds far outpaced the tyre and safety technology of the era, raising concerns about the safety of drivers, spectators and other participants. So for the 1970 NASCAR season, they were effectively banned. In response to these concerns, NASCAR introduced new rules for the 1971 season, limiting the engines in wing cars to 305 cubic inches or 5 litres. This effectively stopped the aerodynamic advantage of these aero cars, leading to a significant decline in their use. Though only 500 homologation cars were required, it is believed that a total of 754 Talladegas may have been built, with only 750 accounted for, including 9 prototypes and 5 pilot cars. All production Talladegas were constructed during January and February of 1969 at Ford's Atlanta assembly plant in Atlanta, Georgia, except for Bunky Knudsen's Talladega, which was built at Ford's Lorain, Ohio plant on March 20th, 1969. There were a number of other models that grew out of the Talladega line, and these were Bunky Knudsen's Talladega, a unique version of the Ford Torino Talladega, tailored specifically for him, then president of Ford Motor Company, crafted after the prototypes but before the crash test and pilot cars. Originally a Ford Torino Cobra, it was upgraded with a Talladega front and other enhancements to suit Knudsen's preferences. Apart from its bright yellow paint, it differed from production Talladegas with features like a white bucket seat interior, floor shift C6 transmission and several other modifications. Ford Torino King Cobra, a prototype race car developed by a team headed by Larry Shinoda with a single goal in mind: to outperform the Dodge Charger Daytona and Plymouth Superbird, the two cars that were threatening to dominate NASCAR. 3 prototypes were made, with a Boss 429, a 429 Super Cobra Jet and a 429 Cobra Jet, capable of speeds exceeding 200 miles per hour on banked circuits. A sleek aerodynamic nose and radically sloped hood were added to a stock 1970 Torino Cobra body. The headlights were tunnelled in sugar scoop cutouts with covers reminiscent of the Datsun 240Z, and the interior remained largely unchanged from the standard Torino. Despite its promising performance, the project was halted before the cars could compete in NASCAR. Mercury Spoiler 2, introduced in early 1969, aimed to boost Mercury's competitiveness in NASCAR with enhanced aerodynamics. Available in 2 trim packages: Carroll Yarborough Special, which was white with red interior and trim, and Dan Gurney Special, which was white with blue interior and trim. Similar to the Ford Torino Talladega and based on the Mercury Cyclone sports roof 2-door hardtop, featuring a sleeker front section for improved aerodynamics. However, unlike the Talladega, all Spoiler 2 models were equipped with a 351 Windsor engine and a rear wing spoiler. Interestingly, the Torino Talladega never won at Talladega, and neither did the Dodge Charger Daytona ever win at Daytona. The Ford Torino Talladega, a car born out of fierce competition and a relentless pursuit of speed, from its aerodynamic design to its powerful performance on the track, the Talladega remains a symbol of Ford's innovative spirit and racing heritage. Its legacy is a testament to what happens when engineering brilliance meets racing passion. In the world of car collectors, the Ford Torino Talladega holds a special place, often referred to as a showroom race car. It was purpose-built with a strong racing pedigree and closely tied to the NASCAR teams of 1969, achieving significant success during the Aero Wars, and for that one season the Talladega ruled the tracks.